Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, transforming the way people think and work so their organizations can thrive. Well, hi everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Ed Kless, and today's episode is cut from another podcast of which I am the co-host, The Soul of Enterprise, which is also sponsored by Sage. The Soul of Enterprise is dedicated to belief that business has a spiritual, though not necessarily religious, component. I hope you enjoy this excerpt. If you do, please visit www.thesoulofenterprise.com for more.
Now, this partly comes from the fact, an interesting and important fact, that Prophet Muhammad was, among the world's founders of religion, was the only merchant. I mean, he was a merchant for 40 years before becoming a prophet and started to preach monotheism. So when he has sayings about the beauties of trade and the honest merchant as the most honorable person, and he has sayings about trade being one of the ways that God's bounty and blessing being diversified around the world. There's a very interesting episode, actually. One day people come in Medina and ask the Prophet Muhammad, by the way, he established a market in Medina, which didn't exist, a Muslim market. And they say, the prices are too high, like there is some shortage in market. Can you please tell the merchants to sell for cheaper? And he says, only God fixes the prices. I cannot fix the prices. And how God fixes the prices? Well, naturally, with the kind of mechanism that Adam Smith would later call, the hidden hand. So there's this very interesting capitalist heritage of Islam. And interestingly, the socialist trends in the Muslim world emerged much later in the 20th century with reaction to Western colonialism and anger at the West, and a lot of Muslims felt themselves politically closer to the Soviet Union and the socialist bloc, and there emerged this idea of Islamic socialism, what they call. But generally, Islam has been a market-friendly religion. There are some issues about interests. Is interest allowed or not? I take a reinterpretive position there. I say what the Quran was denouncing wasn't interest per se, but a very unfair kind of usury where you wouldn't agree on a certain interest rate, but it was a kind of a mafia style. Like, I give you $100 next year. If you don't give it back, I can make it $500 at will. So that was the sort of thing that the Quran condemned, but not the modern banking interest. That's a position I uphold. So there are some issues to deal with, but yes, Islam has been a capitalist-friendly religion, and Sharia, Islamic law, is a part of that. There's also the very interesting fact that there was something good about the Sharia in the sense that Sharia was not made by the rulers. Sharia came not from the rulers, but a higher authority.
Review and subscribe by searching your podcast player of choice for Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.